Hi, my name is Jesse at Trash Panda, and this disc right here was made up of hundreds of other discs. But how, you ask? Well, over the past year, we've been building the world's first disc recycling program so that old, unwanted, and defective discs can fly again. And in this video, I want to show you exactly how. Before we get into the video, I wanted to quickly let you know that tomorrow, the day after we're posting this, the inner core turns 1. So to celebrate, we're having our first ever sale where you can get 30% off any inner core. And if you just so happen to be watching this video on the day it comes out, then we wanted to extend early access to you by using code INNERCORE at checkout. So whether you're more of a blueberry or a raspberry person, or more of an ultra lightweight or absolutely max weight person, you can get 30% off every single inner core from now until the end of the inner core's birthday. But you might want to hold off until the end of the video because of 2 words: Blurple Dunes. So I wanted to start this video right here because this is exactly where the problem started. It's commonly talked about what happens to a single-use plastic water bottle when it's disposed of, but what about discs? To be totally honest with you, I thought this wasn't that big of a deal when we first started because, like, who has discs that they have to throw away? But then over the course of the next 3 years, people just unsolicitedly started sending us discs, and at a certain point I had 4 50-gallon trash cans full of discs to be recycled. And I don't remember exactly when it was, but I stood right here and I looked at that and realized we needed to do something. And I think it was those 4 bins right here that gave me this inkling that the floodgates were about to break open. And did I ever underestimate said floodgates? Earlier this year, we officially launched the world's first disc recycling program, and along with getting super creative with the name, we also built up a system that would be able to recycle tens of thousands of discs. But before we can get to everything that's behind me, we have to start with step 1, which is collection. Roughly speaking, we receive boxes in 3 varying sizes that come from individuals, retailers, and manufacturers. From individuals, we receive anywhere from 1 to even upwards of 50 discs, and what's in each of those boxes varies completely. For example, this is one that came in last week, and what's in it includes, right off the bat, the PGA Tour starter set, which is, well, trash. We've got some old and very beat up Innova plastic, even the most insane puddle top. I don't know if you can see that. And then, of course, a handful of baseline discs, which typically are pretty beat up. Some of these actually look okay. From retailers, we'll receive anywhere from like 25 to 300 discs. And actually, while I'm filming this, Kyle is back here organizing a batch we just got in. And we've found that these discs typically come from one of 3 places: either unclaimed, lost and found, defective discs that were received from another manufacturer, or even just insanely beat up used bin discs. And Kyle is actually already performing the next step, but before we get there, we also work with manufacturers, where the numbers of discs sent in to be recycled go way up. And unfortunately, there are a couple of manufacturers that I'm not allowed to tell you that we work with, but I am happy to highlight Lone Star, who sends us all of their scrap and doesn't mind us sharing it with you. But as you can probably already see, this is where step 2 begins. Arguably the most extensive part of the process is sorting, because no matter where the discs are coming from, oftentimes we have no idea what we're gonna get. So roughly, we follow the same 2-step approach, and that's to separate the good from the bad, and to organize based on plastic type and manufacturer. With the discs that are perfectly good, we separate those out because honestly, it makes 0 sense for us to take a perfectly good disc and recycle it into another perfectly good disc. So with the discs that still have some life left in them, we'll donate them to local schools or through our friends at Uplay, or we'll hold on to them for a later date to use in things like our holiday used disc swap, which is coming up. With the bad, unfortunately, this is where things get pretty complicated. At the first and highest level, we'll separate by plastic type. So you've got premium plastics, baseline plastics, and other, and then from there we'll separate by manufacturer. Now this is where there's an interesting little caveat. If we know exactly what is in that plastic because either we've done enough testing and trialing, or the manufacturer was willing to let us know, or we found a comment very, 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 very deep on Reddit, then we might put some of those different brands' premium plastics together. But because these ultimately are like each company's different Coca-Cola secrets, unfortunately sometimes we have to separate entirely by plastic and manufacturer. Now this is so complex that I just realized I didn't even mention another thing we have to do after that. So to talk about that, let's use Innova DX as an example. With Innova DX, as you can see right here, we've actually got a decent amount of discs. There's actually 3 rows back from there and everything down here. Believe it or not, this isn't even all of the Innova DX we have. We have a ton. But what would happen if we put all of this together? Well, we'd get this nice, beautiful little brown. And because we ultimately aren't looking to make this beautiful brown that blends into the dirt when you're playing disc golf, we then have to separate by color. But you might be thinking to yourself, Jesse, what happens if a disc comes in that's dirty or has stickers on it or has a hot stamp? The next step involves cleaning the discs. And fortunately, we have this funky little outside side yard thing that we can use for this process. With discs that are super dirty, we have to use 3 ingredients, including water, soap, and elbow grease. And for discs that might have foil stamps on them, we keep the elbow grease but exchange the water for acetone and the soap for PPE. A fun fact about hot foil stamps is they're actually made up of this super thin layer of metal along with another incredibly thin layer of PET plastic. And that PET plastic actually acts as the bonding agent between the foil and the discs. So when all is said and done, you end up with the plastic of the discs, an incompatible plastic bonding agent, and an incompatible metal. Now at a surface level, you could probably grind all of that together and you probably wouldn't notice anything. But because we're using 100% recycled plastic, we want to make sure that there is no contamination whatsoever left over in the final product. So once you've gone through all of the sorting as well as the cleaning of the discs, you end up with a ton of discs in a general colorway with absolutely 0 contamination, ready for the next step. And to explain the next step, I actually want to kick it to a recent Patreon exclusive video where Kyle did an absolutely perfect job explaining the next step, which is grinding.
Yeah, so we have everything sorted out and ready to roll. And what we do is we turn this thing on, it's a little loud, and about every 5 to 8 seconds, we just slide a disc down. The grinder is about 3 feet down here. Yep. So that we can't get our hand crushed in it. As it fills, we turn on this glorious vacuum, which sucks everything up and into this bin here.
The only thing I would change about all this is that it would be so cool if this grinder was clear. So you could watch it happen.
I would love to watch it happen. I can hear it happen, but I'd love to see it.
Well, why don't you let us hear it happen at least?
All right, let's roll with it.
Those discs look like they're glowing when they fall in.
I know, it's crazy. Who would have thought?
So at this point, we have this beautiful raw material, and the only thing that's left to do is to make it into a product. By now, you've probably seen that we're making minis out of recycled discs, which are absolutely gorgeous. And you might have also seen that we are now Disc Dot's manufacturer, and Disc Dots are officially made out of recycled discs. But for this video in particular, we wanted to try something special, so we prepped the material, dried it for 2 hours, sent it off to the machine, injected the plastic, and made these absolutely gorgeous discs exclusively out of recycled discs. So when I let myself pause and actually think about this, I can't help but remember the very first time I made a disc out of recycled discs in my garage. It was almost exactly 2 years ago. I had the worst and most dangerous shredder you can imagine, a toaster oven, and a janky Flintstone-style injection machine that operated on my body weight or the body weight of multiple people. And somehow that led us to here and now, where we're doing it at scale. With blurple dunes and a fully fledged disc recycling program, minis, disc dots, you name it. And still, somehow in all of that, I can't help but think it's only the beginning.
Bye.